Welcome back to the Nexus game Europe, and we're in for one hell of a ride here on this very first best of three already. France versus Italy. It couldn't get any more exciting because both teams are not willing to give up any ground here. Both of them want to get their second win in that Group A, and we can't really fault them for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have another game ready. Team France was showing up strong in game number 1, but Team Italy managed to come back in a flawless game here almost towards the end on Towers of Doom.
I feel like I keep saying it, but Italy is fantastic at drafting against enemy team compositions if they understand them. Clearly they struggled with Zagara, but as soon as they saw that early Lost Vikings pick, they were all over it.
Yeah, Moldavius continues to impress on his two main heroes up to this point, the Stukov and the Asmodan.
I'm sure he would love to play more of the Asmodan, but it's always bad.
Never lucky.
Every game so far in this series. And maybe France at this point, after really struggling against the Stukov as well, maybe they want to change it up in this next game.
That's definitely going to be interesting to see, like, whether one of the teams is going to be willing to let through one of the specialist mains, if you will, the Zagara or the Asmodan, or if they're going to stick to their guns because they don't want to commit any unnecessary risks.
I'm really interested to see what France do in this game 3. They played much more standard in game 1, and they were very dominant. But in game 2, they did that off-meta Lost Vikings, and we sat on the desk, we didn't like it, and apparently Italy didn't like it much either because they absolutely destroyed it.
Now, for this final game of this best of 3, which battleground would you like to see?
Ooh.
See if you've got
one of the ones we haven't seen before. I want Black Hearts.
Okay, Bakery.
Oh, I'm not sure Black Hearts is the one I want to see.
That's what I see.
It's tough. It's tough. I think Cursed Hollow would be a great match for both teams, and Infernal Shrines as well. The same kind of thing. I think Italy and France, both very solid teams playing into each other in a real toe-to-toe matchup, I think would be great.
One of the two it's going to be. Which one?
Shrines.
Hey, there we go. Bakery, the Prophet, confirmed on the Nexus game stream. No, it is definitely a solid map choice. I think both teams are going to feel very comfortable playing there because it has been such a staple in the competitive scene.
It really has. It's been around for so long right now. Even though it wasn't one of the release games with the game, it's still probably the most popular in professional play overall, except for maybe Cursed Hollow. Those two paths
Cursed Hollow Towers very popular as well now, but yeah, definitely
tough.
a true staple of the competitive scene.
Yeah, definitely true, and we're going to dive into that draft very shortly. In the meantime, once again, how viable are the trademark heroes here for the respective teams? Zagara, Asmo, is it even worth banning them out here?
Zagara is definitely a pocket strategy on this map. I believe Asmodan could be the same. I'm not an Asmodan expert, though. That is definitely Moldavius, so we might have to ask him.
Definitely true. Tetcher, what do you want to see here coming in from both teams?
Well, the Asmodan, I think it could work. The rotation distances aren't as bad compared to the first map they played it on, so it could still be viable if it wasn't
France definitely think it's...
Well, neither of the teams want to deal with those specialists as they are removed very quickly.
And I mean, that's what I like to see. This is going to create the even toe-to-toe matchup that these two fantastic teams have been showing.
And look at Team Italy go in those votes, taking 61% of the entire chat favor here. 41 France catching up. And if you guys want to become part of it and make your voice be heard, then type in hashtag FRWin if you think Team France is going to win it. Or if you're like Forza Italia, then type in hashtag ItWin.
ETC. First pick, we're going back to these standard picks, and that was a big deal for France in the last game, especially that last team fight. Italy was able to use ETC to great effect for controlling that area, and as Baker pointed out, the 200 IQ play of the mosh pit under 7-sided strike. We know it's scary for Italy, we know it's one of the best heroes in the game right now. France picking it up straight away.
Yeah, no surprise here. This is now getting a little bit more standard to the drafts we saw a couple of days ago when ETC was always in the first, maybe in the second rotation.
Yeah, if we're going by tradition here, this should be Rhaegar Greymane or something like that. As these seem to be traditions, these three heroes in the first rotation. In some
I could see Rhaegar Greymane, but at the same time, Italy are a bit of a different team. They very much like to counter draft. So what's going against ETC? They might pick an early Muradin, and they might look for a ranged assassin.
So I've actually had an interesting discussion yesterday where a comparison was made between the Nexus games here and classic high-tier Hero League. And in high-tier Hero League, you see a lot of Genji first pick still, whereas here for the Nexus games, it is always one of the two wolves, the Greymane or the Rhaegar. Can you go over the advantages of having a Greymane compared to a Genji early on?
I think Greymane is much more flexible. Genji, you lock yourself into that one style of, in a team fight, we are going all in. Let's try and get kills. In the laning phase, you're locking yourself into, well, we can't push, we can't wave clear, let's just have a lot of pressure. Let's just have a lot of ganks. Greymane, he can do those things, much worse, given, but he can also do tower pushing, and he can also do wave clear better than almost anyone else. I do actually love the Sonya pickup. We were speaking about the burden of execution and how easy it is to play a Sonya on this map, especially with a Rhaegar.
If you give a Rhaegar support to Sonya, she is going to have a lovely time. She wins the solo lane almost consistently, no matter who you put up against her. And with a Rhaegar, the extra damage from Lightning Shield, and of course, clutch ancestral healings when she starts to drop low, Sonya turns from a solid bruiser into the absolute menace of this map.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, France did go for a very risky play in a way that they relied on a solo support Karazim, mostly because the Vikings weren't really participating in those fights anyways, and the Karazim comes back again. Do you think that is the support to really make the difference in such an important game?
I like it. I like it. Fans are doubling down, saying, okay, let's play standard, but let's give ourselves strong picks. And the Monk, it did a lot of work last game. They got a lot of pickoffs with the 7-sided. I would probably like to see him be flexible and be willing to pick Palm, but I think having the Greymane ETC Karazim is going to give a lot of backline pressure on a team that is focusing actually on buffing their front line. Those heroes can dive past that.
Right. So do you think it may be a second support to go with the Karazim, or do you think he is...
I would like to see a second support, possibly Blightwing, possibly Lucia.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Give them even more engage potential for that backline with that movement speed boost. We'll have to see. But for now, bans are available.
Yeah, bans are available. Time is running out, though, so every team really needs to think twice, maybe even 3 times about what they want to go for. And once again, don't forget about the potential difference in hero pools. I mean, we have so many seasoned veterans of the competitive scene on the side of Team Friends, whereas...
And that is exactly what I wanted to see. Stukov being hovered, Stukov being locked in. Take Moldavian.
Take him out, baby.
Wow, they are targeting him hard at this point. Now, we've only seen him play one other hero so far, and that is Garrosh. Is Garrosh a potentially dangerous pick here? Do they just want to try and force him onto it?
I think it's too predictable, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that the French team will have something prepared against a Garrosh, and the Karazim already is kind of leaning towards that. He can escape very swiftly. The 7-sided doesn't care about Garrosh's armor.
Yep, so they have Cursed Bullet potentially. They are
definitely true.
Relatively set up.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, ETC is one of the tanks that's very good against Garrosh. He can possibly interrupt the throw a lot of times. He can follow up on the Garrosh and punish him for when he goes too deep for a throw. If he gets thrown himself, he just slides back. So ETC based on, Karazim based on, even Greymane has a lot of mobility to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Even just drops mosh pit after being thrown into the enemy team. The countless clips in the funny moments videos we get sometimes. But for now, though, starting off with a second support, keeping that Sonya sustained, and a Muradin, which means no matter what, we are seeing Moldavius play on something new, unless they plan on going for no ranged heroes.
Yeah, so he could be on the Tassadar or he could be on the Sonya. Both are heroes that I think he could really do a lot on. So I'm not worried. I think Italy still have a solid draft.
And it also leaves the last hero kind of in the dark here for Team Italy. It could be a Tracer if you want to go very aggressive playstyle. It could also be a traditional Vala if you want to play it a little bit more standard. So right now it's really hard for the French team to, you know, anticipate what their opponents are going to have in store.
So Team France. Second support, quite possibly. Bakery seems to believe so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't want a VP. I want fans to play standard. That's where they're best. That's why we saw them be so strong every other game, apart from non-Towers do.
Yeah, definitely true. So we see the Brightwing coming in. That's a good one. That was actually the hero Bakery had suggested there as well. I mean, it's so nice to see how 2 supports oftentimes complement each other, and that is far from being standard.
Yeah.
Okay, it's far from standard, but I am okay with it. It's still a standard archetype of hero. It's another ranged. I'm fine with that pick. If a little intrigued to see how they want to make it work.
So there are ways for Italy to punish this. Sonya could, in theory, be going for a more of a leap style, Muradin for a more bruiser style, but he's the solo tank, so that is less likely. But if not, Heavy Impact still gives a good amount of engage potential for that Sergeant Hammer. But Right Wing is very good at protecting against that kind of style, so I'm really excited about this.
I think Valor being the last pick for Italy makes perfect sense. Solid carry, they have the task to back it up. she's very versatile, and she also gives a bit of sign clear as well.
I think we're going to see a haymaker here. I really think Muradin next to the Sonya will have the potential to disrupt the formation and maybe kick Sergeant Hammer into the backline. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see the Avatar here, especially with all the percentage damage that's available.
I'd be interested to see it. It's one of those... Going for haymaker in this kind of situation would very much be a Hail Mary style of kill off someone before it can get out of control. Because in theory, Karazim or Brightwing could save a target hit with a haymaker, and Hammer, for example, can actually punish you with a knockback.
We are looking at Emerald Wind, and we saw in the UK fans game, actually, Emerald Wind was destroying God of the West when he was trying to make these haymaker plays.
Fair point.
So we see that. We see the potential for a Palm on the blow up. We see the potential for a Seven-Sided to blow up the Muradin himself when he goes in. I feel like he needs the Avatar here.
I think it was a different map, though. Towers of Doom was a little bit more forgiving, I think, for misplacements here. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to find out who's going to take home this best of 3. Is it going to be Team France, or is it going to be the Italians? Tetcher, do us the favor and introduce Team France one last time.
Team France are going to consist of Wonka on ETC, Danatan on Sergeant Hammer, Curva playing the Greymane Masquerade on the Karazim, and playing that Brightwing, fleeing up to the top lane. It is going to be...
We're going to find out in a bit. Never mind, we're going to switch over to the Italians just as much as a likable team as their opponents. Moldavi's on the Tassador, Booyah is playing the Muradin, Sass on the Vala, Fatal Error on the Rehgar, and last but not least, we're going to have Rayquaza on the Sonya.
Yes, we are, and that Brightwing is going to be played by Ewok. Same as we've seen him on it before, so not too surprising. There was actually a nice tweet about Ewok recently by SMX.
I saw that one too.
Able to get over 1 million healing and shielding, so we'll be interested to see if he can match that. Probably not on Brightwing, but we'll keep an eye on him through the rest of the
Still
tournament.
didn't get MVP though. Maybe you're going to have to shield and heal 2 million to get it.
He got the best healer thing, so it's all good.
Very fair.
As we do see Sergeant Hammer sieging up. Towers being harassed by both teams very quickly. Bot tower was already engaged upon by Team Italy, and Danatan wanted to try and do some damage to Tommy. He's already taken down 1 tower and has dropped the second one down to just over half.
Yeah, we see advanced artillery, by the way, on the side of Sergeant Hammer, which means the longer the distance between her and the target she's hitting on, the more damage is going to be delivered.
Indeed it is, and this is very much the go-to talent for Sergeant Hammer. On the very odd occasion, if you are scared of that really hard engage with her Brightwing and Karazim, they have potential counters for. You could go for the Resilience, I believe is called, which gives you extra armor if you get stunned or rooted as Sergeant Hammer, and sometimes we do see Regen Master by some people who are afraid of a bit of poke damage.
And we see a nice reaction already by Booyah on the Muradin here for his level 1 talent. Normally we're used to seeing the Perfect Storm, we are also used to seeing the Third Wind potentially, but in those scenarios where there's heavy physical damage from basic attacks coming in from the enemy team, block can work wonders for you.
Block can work wonders, and Sonya is responding in kind as well with a block of her own.
Double block, here we go.
Danatan boosting himself away with a nice knockback, fleeing into his backline, and he will be healed up by Ewok, and this is the joy of Ewok. Brightwing, no mana for healing, so as long as Danatan stays in lane and doesn't take too much harassment, this lane will last a very long time.
Very true. Is Brightwing going to go for Cleanse at level 7? Let's analyze how much CC the enemy team has. Muradin, Stormbolt, Slows, Spear, potentially a leap. I think we're going to have to see a Cleanse for sure.
The potential of the Haymaker, as we were talking about
potentially.
earlier, would be very risky, but high risk equals high reward sometimes. So we will have to keep an eye on it. As level 5 is available for France, no talents here, but it is a slight stat boost. They still are not interested in the objective, though. They are leaving that over to Italy as Sonya just dominates through those skeletal minions, bringing their team up to 29.
And we talked a lot about these infamous heroic ability standoffs where one heroic ability has what it takes to counter another and who's going to pull the trigger first. Speaking of pull the triggers, Ewok is going to get triggered by Cess, who just had all the time in the world to really execute a poor little innocent fairy dragon.
One auto attack is all that really took at the end there. He could have maybe, if Vala had given up early, then that Brightwing might have got behind the gate and escaped. But as it is, we do see Brightwing going down and Italy picking up the first Punisher of the game. And Italy, they're behind on the XP, soaking it, potentially not working out for them. But this Punisher will at minimum grab this tower with the help of Booyah.
Yeah, very nice leap. It's not going to do too much, but it is a nice distraction. It opens up the map for your team. You can find enough time to start mercenary camps. Well, sometimes the life of a Punisher gets very confusing. There are so many juicy targets to choose from that.
Yeah. He's wondering where his team is. Team, please, I'm dived alone. Doing his own best Hero League impression.
That's normally, I think he did a wonderful Horde player impression there.
If you say so.
Normally what they behave when I enter a Rathi Basin maybe, or the Warsong Gulch, you know. It's very funny to see, so
swiftly on. Kendrick swiftly on. I tried my best. As we do see Kura assisting his team in the clearing of these mercenary camps using his cocktail. Has to move back though as Booyah playing very aggressively far forward.
All right, Wonka taking a little bit of pokey-poke there, but not enough to take out the mighty Tauren Chieftain for now. Pretty solid overall. I mean, Italy, if you think about it, Sergeant Hammer can oftentimes cause a lot of headaches for enemy teams when she's getting the siege she wants to, she's getting all that early game damage in, and oftentimes it's easier said than done to really fight back against her, especially when there's a support behind her.
Yeah, and Sergeant Hammer going for that focused attack for that extra damage, like you said, with the extra support. She's going to be able to do that nicely, and the first aid for her own sustained sake. Now, we did see a little bit of time where we would see the hyper-cooling engines being the most commonly picked for Sergeant Hammer. The first aid is very much counter against the engage style against Sergeant Hammer, whereas the boost is the runaway style if you're going to be microing a lot, but you still want to be in siege mode every now and again, or if rotations are the name of the game.
Murden already going for the heavy impact. It did get nerfed the talent that is. No more mini stuns, only a massive slow. However, it is still a wonderful talent if you pair it with Dwarf Launch at level 16. The longer range, the cooldown reduction, and let's face it, 80% slow effect can oftentimes be almost as critical to pinning down targets like a mini stun.
Yeah, it got the Stitches slam treatment from Alpha,
very
where
true,
it used to give that mini stun with that huge slam radius and cooldown reduction. Now, it does just give the slow, but that can be a huge deal.
Exactly. Now we see Sergeant Hammer posturing up here, focusing on that Fallen Shaman camp. I really like seeing that.
I think that's the first time I've seen a hammer mine take damage and not die. Tatadar attacks do not do significant amounts of damage here.
It's called Tickle Beam for a reason, right?
Yes, it is. As we see Italy take a tiny bit of harass, a single Karazine poke as he boots Muradin on the way out. In the meantime, though, France this time have been the ones left unattended on the objective. 19, now 20-0. But Italy gonna try and turn that around as they take control as both teams hit level 10.
The French team plays this so patiently, almost afraid here. Muradin going for the Avatar, by the way. No crazy shenanigans this time around, and no leap either. I actually would have made a statement in favor of leap plus the Haymaker, because you could have potentially interrupted the Emerald Wind before it goes off. Speaking of Emerald Wind, it's going to be needed very, very soon. It was interrupted the first time, and Ewok goes down.
Before Emerald Wind could come back up, so very nice job there by Italy. They blew literally everything for this. Sergeant Hammer, though, they're at 34. She's throwing in the napalm, trying to sneak the final couple shots. 37 to 37, 38. Sonia spinning
Italy's got it.
Italy get it. Salazar did his best. A very valiant attempt by France, but Italy, this time, that one was close, and they're going to join the Punisher this time to try and get some value from it.
That one was very close. Despite losing Brightwing so early on, the French team managed to still snatch away so many of those skeletal defenders and causing a lot of blood, sweat, and tears here for Italy. But in the end, they were able to take it for themselves. Although, once again, it didn't really do the most of damage. It is so good at maintaining control over this game. I mean, we still see mercenaries being grabbed immediately by the Rhaegar. That's another strength of the team composition that Italy is fielding to battle here. Multiple heroes, once again, being able to steal away mercenary camps all by themselves.
And that is going to be exceptionally useful in the, well, any stage of the game, quite frankly. Greymane can do similar, but the difference is he does not have the sustain ability to take those camps like Rhaegar has. So if he is caught out, he will be in serious trouble. We do also see Greymane going with that Cursed Bullet for a little bit of burst follow-up to that ETC and the Karazim 7-sided strike.
Hero League versus former HGC. Kirva get wrecked. Rayquaza is having none of it.
You heard it here first, guys. Hero League better than HGC confirmed, as we do see the Napalm strike from Sergeant Hammer, which we saw to great effect before, but with the amount of burst her team has, do you think maybe the BFG could be a good follow-up for that?
Definitely. I think the BFG is an heroic ability that can never be underestimated because of its raw damage output, but we just saw how much AoE damage and especially objective damage the Napalm was able to dish out. So in terms of, macro play and PvE gameplay, I think the Napalm is the wiser choice.
The huge AoE you can get from that on those objectives, considering the cursed minions are quite squishy, Napalm is brilliant for exactly this reason, and it gives a little bit of area control, which can be exceptionally helpful.
Exactly, and those little moments, like that Greymane versus Sonya, those are the little moments that can really boost the morale of your entire team. If all of a sudden you hear that, did it in your voice comms, and you're like, hey, what's up? I just got him in a one-on-one. And that really invigorates the entire team. And Italian players being very emotional, traditionally being, very explosive and emotional, I think that can really, really pull up that momentum.
Greymane tried to 1v1 me and I killed him. Are you guys proud of me? And they're like, yes, we are. As Italy take back control of the objective. This time it's Brightwing versus Sonya in the top lane. The difference is Brightwing is not going to stay here. She will teleport down straight away. She did pick Cleanse, by the way. That Peekaboo giving vision to the area as we see France taking control.
And the vision granted by Peekaboo can be really useful, especially for Sergeant Hammer, thanks to the range she's got. She can always land those auto attacks on targets she couldn't reach otherwise because of a lack of vision. So I really like it. Damson being a little bit low though, and Booyah is trying to go for the backline.
Trying to move in and focus on Takura. 7-sided does do a lot of damage onto Sonya, who immediately gets that Ancestral, keeping her alive as Booyah looks for Ewok, but Ewok is being positioned very nicely, and Italy are being forced to retreat and instead focus on the minions. 39, and it's gone. Italy once again sneaking it away.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a Purple Peter. The Arcane Punisher is going to push in that bottom lane relentlessly.
The nice ice block keeping Ewok alive. He will retreat, and the Punisher will not land the stun on any member of Team France as they retreat all the way back to their titties. The face melt a little bit early, forcing out the power slide.
Yeah, every further casualty here on the side of Team France could be keep deciding. The Punisher gets baited over the wall. A lot of arcane turns now being summoned onto that ground to provide further zoning. And I think the Italians are happy with the progress they've made. They realize we don't need to overcommit. So far, every team fight we took was won handsomely. Let's not change our battle plan. Let's fall back, take all those 3 juicy yellow spots on the minimap, more mercenary pressure, and we're going to snowball on from there.
Like I said, snowball being attempted as we see Impalers being picked up. Will they go for their own? They need to be careful. France is around the area, but Muradin positioning himself. Tassadar will also
going in.
TC here, and Wonka gets stunned at, and Muradin, as he sees more members coming, just leaps away.
And you know what? This hasn't been settled yet. I think if Booyah decides to stay close, no, they pull back for now.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to take the risk. They're already closing in on level 16. They might as well give up that camp, clear it in their own time, and then begin a fight on level 16, which more mercenaries will begin to respawn. The Fawn and Shaman in the top lane will actually be back in a relatively short time.
Monster Hunter at level 1, making short, making a short story for those mercenaries, slicing and dicing them to pieces in a very quick time here. Now, in the meantime, we see Sergeant Hammer and the rest of her crew sieging up. Keep in mind, though, 16 is around the corner for Italy, so this is going to be a crucial moment for Team France, once again, to split themselves up, get as much soaking value in as possible. Actually, not sure if they should rotate as 4 here all the time. I really think they should let at least one person stay in the middle.
Who would you think that would be? Would it be Brightwing, who is currently just chilling in bot lane, trying not to get killed?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it could have been ETC. Of course, if you take one of them away, they also have to play more passively in the top lane, but that should be pretty hard, pretty easy to predict.
Sonya, damage on Masquerade. He doesn't have to
He's gonna make it.
He will survive. Sonya is chasing him down, though. Brightwing is the only one to drop as Karazim escapes.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of aggressive play that France shouldn't have done. they should have realized the moment they see one of the Italian players, they're like, okay, they want to force the fight. They're 16, we're not. Let's back it up, give them a fort if need be. Just do not get caught. Brightwing is probably not going to be there in time. And her dying first was actually a really crippling moment for them.
Yeah, and with Bright, like you said, they could have given them the fort. Instead, they
just give it to them.
And the fort now. In the meantime, though, Greymane will
at least
recover something here.
Yeah.
Sneaking that fort in the bot lane, as Italy, though, also getting themselves a little something, stealing away that fallen shape.
It is nice to get that bottom fort, but it's still an unfavorable trade for Team France, because not only did they lose the top fort earlier, now they're going to have a fallen Shaman Kim pushing against them. They're going to get this tower line for free, Team Italy that is, and guess where the next Punisher is going to spawn from? Yes, it is going to be that top lane, so Top Keep is in a grave situation here.
Fatal Error in full retreat as all of the focus onto him, but Valor with the Rain of Vengeance giving him the escape route. Great job by Cess.
Yeah, and if this continues to go on like that, I think Team Italy is going to get that first keep of the game easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They're going to have a frozen Punisher, I believe. Yep, there we go. So it's not the most powerful one in terms of damaging structures, but it provides great zoning.
Yes, potentially the best zoning out of all of them. The lasers, you can run through them if you're really brave, if you are tanky enough, but those roots can be devastating, especially if followed up by the Punisher stun itself.
Yeah, the Punisher stun, and then there's going to be a chain of stuns raining at you with that Muradin, the Sonya Spear. So, going to be very hard, especially for an unmobile hero like Sergeant Hammer. If she sieges up at the wrong time, wrong location, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and Hammer has to move. Even with that graduating range, she has to pull back to avoid that Punisher engage. And this keep will not get taken down for now. Punisher's going to wail on it, and they get focused down, and they will finish it off. But France are all down here. They're going to clear up the minion wave too. And yeah, that keep will survive.
Yeah, I think that was just exceptionally well played by the French team, just soaking, baiting the Punisher all the way to the middle lane. That was the best route they could have chosen for it. It took so much damage from the middle keep, from the top keep, and the towers supporting it as well. Really beautifully done, and that's definitely a trick or two that people can learn in Hero League as well.
It's working very nicely. Like you said, the pulls on the Punisher, even with Sergeant Hammer, she did force her to relocate, but she got a couple free shots off from that Punisher as it was on its way in with that graduating range.
And all of a sudden, this early late game is looking a lot more different now.
Yeah.
The XP is going to close in as well. Both teams are going to be even again. And from this point on, with all keeps still being alive, this is any team's game. You cannot really say that Italy has this banked for sure.
You really can't. Like, their best engage potential right now is a good Sonya Spear without too much vision, or a Dwarf Launch, as Muradin did take that level 16 talent into some heavy impact slows. So it's really up to the two tank bruiser heroes on the side of Italy to make any kind of play, whereas France, they're just waiting for Mosh Pit. They've had it available this whole game, but they haven't been able to land the game-changing one yet.
Yeah, and the Warriors on the side of Team Italy are going to be so hard to kill, which is why I really like the Siege, the Giant Killer talent at level 13 for Sergeant Hammer, because we're already seeing the Nerves of Steel. There's going to be Ignore Pain at level 20. Muradin is going to be so hard to begin with, especially with that Rewind at 20. So, Sergeant Hammer, that's going to be the only hope left, really, with that Greymane to take anyone out.
Yeah, the damage output could be crazy. You can see Greymane actually adjusting to be a little bit more melee heavy, going with the Alpha Kill, a little bit of percentage damage
They really need
those
that.
tanks. So
exactly, that's a good point.
Alpha Killer and Giant Killer coming in. ETC even, I don't think we mentioned this, he went for Hammer-On at level 7. Even more damage coming in here.
Yeah, a little bit of extra damage after using an ability. And that's actually something I talk about a lot when talking to other players. ETC's basic damage is surprisingly high. It's not bad.
Good. Like, this talent is the one that we normally see on Battlefield of Eternities. We do see the move in here. Wonka, he's still looking for that game-changing heroic, but for now he is just using his body to zone out. Valor finally finishes the Hungering Arrow here as we do.
Look at this Tacitus Storms, though. The Tacitus Storms fully charged up after that level 1 and 16 talents is stealing away so many skeletons. It makes it so hard for France to really make a move because they're taking so much poking, chipping damage before the real fight even starts.
The graduating rain, Muradin dives in, Seven-Sided removes him, and the Emerald Wind prevents any follow-up. Zest retreats, and this is going to be France taking, I think, the actually first Punisher of the game.
Yep. That is the first Punisher of the game, but guess what, Techer? This Punisher is going to be more impactful and more powerful than all the other ones combined. Because this one is definitely going to give them the fort. It shouldn't really take too much damage, especially if Team Italy doesn't defend it, and then it could very well give them the keep. However, look what Team Italy is trying to do. They're posturing in the top lane. They're trying to get additional pressure and maybe steal the camp.
Everyone else is porting. Looks like Sonya is going to take this alone. And
not a global hero, man.
She's going to have to take this and then port. And that will give them 20, but she needs to be quicker than this.
She needs to go now.
She needs to be back with her team. Keep goes down. She can port from here, or she can pressure core. She's going to port. So it's going to be a potential core defense here with both teams at level 20.
Yeah, this is going to be insanely close here now. Sonya is back in the fray. It's a 5-man core defense. The catapults are helping us. Sonya isolated.
Seven-sided strike takes her down. Sonya didn't have a chance. Tassadar killed off by Sergeant Hammer as the core gets focused. Torbus focusing Valor. The main damage he lands. Central keeps her alive, but the core is unattended. And France take down the core of Italy. And they will take game number 3 and the series.
What a finish here by the French team. Wonderfully done overall. I mean, you could see all the experience and all the skill that is part of this team, fully stacked with players like Kirva and Danatan. And here we could really see how clean the execution was. They made a call, they realized something was fishy. Nobody was defending in the middle, so there was likely a sneaky backdoor on that top keep, and they just pulled the trigger. Sonya arrived a little bit too late, and what was most important, I think, she separated herself from the entire enemy allied team.
She thought she could tank it, but 7-sided strike at level 20, that is hard to deal with.
I think we saw why they picked the hammer. So they got a lot of value, not only on the signs, but that core push especially. They set it up so well. She was actually hitting the enemy team the whole time, and she was pressing the core from in ways where they could not engage on her.
Yeah, definitely true. Although it did have its weaknesses in the early mid-game, but as we said many times in Heroes of a Storm, the late game is what counts.
Level 16 graduating range, very helpful. But you said potentially some weaknesses in the early mid-game, but it was still very interesting, a lot of those shrine fights. And what do you have to show us, dude?
So the first one I have is the 10v10 mid-shrine, and this is where Italy grabbed control of the game initially. So as it plays forward, we see that ETC actually slides in, and this whole time, look at him, he's looking for a mosh pit, and he just does not see it. He starts taking a ton of damage, so now he starts running out. Now Boeing sees the writing on the wall as he wants to get out of here, but look at Sess. He says no, he says you're not getting that emerald, cancels it with the Rain of Vengeance, and this is where Boeing goes down. However, it's going to keep playing, because now we see Hammer, again, we're speaking about how it gets value. Well, it's about to get more value. So she seizes up, and even in their 4v5, they are ahead on scores right now, and they want to take the Punisher. So 4v5, they go in, and suddenly both teams realize, okay, wow, it was so close. We need to get this Punisher. 100% focus from both teams comes out onto these skulls, and they're hitting them. And Sonya is trying to zone, and Italy get it. 39-38, I believe, was the final score. Italy hit the final one. And this is what gives them that control. It allowed Italy to remain in control of the game right up until Mjolnir died on the mid-19 versus 19 fight.
Yeah, that was absolute insanity. But once again, we cannot get away or basically deny anything from the Italian team. Twice in a row, they showed us spectacular performances here. And the French team, that was not an easy ride in the park. They just had to fight and struggle hard for it.
You were talking about it. Italy were in control of that game right up until the last moments. They were looking really, really good for that entire game.
Yeah, so we thought that France would be our first seed from this group. Italy showed us it could have been them on a different day. They definitely could have grabbed it. But the important thing now is Italy need to regain the focus and focus on their upcoming matchups. They have to beat out Finland and United Kingdom to make it out of this group.
Absolutely. And compared to France, those are definitely beatable opponents, beatable material. For now, though, guys, we're not done here with this play day of the European Nexus games. More is to come. And the next one, it's going to be a pretty interesting one. It's going to be Denmark versus Belgium. So don't go anywhere, stay tuned, and we'll be back after this.